Greetings, citizens, and thanks for tuning in to Nindie Nation episode 77. I'm Jeff, and if this is your first time joining us, welcome. Nindie Nation is your weekly dose of everything independently developed for the Nintendo Switch and is brought to you by the Nintendo Village. This week, we're covering August 8th through the 14th, and we'll start off by taking a quick look at every single indie game releasing on the Nintendo eShop. After we're done there, we'll head over to the Great Deals tab and pick our favorite deals of the week to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced. Nindie Nation episodes post to podcast feeds on Monday, as well as in video form on the Nindie Nation YouTube channel, where you can see footage of every game we cover, as well as Let's Plays and other shows such as Nindies We Love. We're continuing to roll out the new rotating weekly segments, and it was great to hear from all of you last week about what's been keeping your Joy-Cons synced. This week, the segment is our first Nindie Publisher Spotlight, and we'll be checking in with the fine folks over at Forever Entertainment, so don't miss that segment right after we wrap up the deals. But first, we've got some Nindies to talk about, and for whatever reason, there always seems to be some titles that release without any fanfare in between our episodes. Since it's our job to cover every single indie game releasing for the Switch, we've gathered those titles and labeled them as our neglected Nindies. Just like last week, the marketing teams have been mostly on the ball recently, so let's kick things off by taking a look at the 5 neglected Nindies released since episode 76. Spitlings is touted as a cute but hardcore arcade game that's made for playing its hundreds of levels locally or online with friends, and yeah, that's pretty accurate. You've got your pixelated art style, a mechanic that you'll use to attack or jump, and it's developed by Massive Mainstream and published by Handy Games. It does launch at $14.99, which seems a bit high, but hey, if it's fun and packed with content, that doesn't seem too bad. Wizard's Wand of Epicosity. Epicosity is a new fantasy-themed tower defense game by Game Mechanic Studios. There's nothing too original here other than a bit of humor with abilities such as strapping explosives to your dog and firing him out of a cannon. Not sure how funny that is, but hey, it's $20 and is available now. And I think someone should let East Asia Soft know when the cutoff is to get your game descriptions into Nintendo, because ever since they've started releasing weekly titles a few months ago, they have consistently been a part of neglected Nindies. Someone should let them know. This week, they release 112th Seed for $4.99, and it's a puzzle platformer with an 8-bit art style, chock full of bite-sized levels that remind me a lot of Donkey Kong 94 or the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series. Retro arcade shooter Attack from Pluto is the latest release by Digital Game Group and Gameco Mobile, and as the name suggests, it's a retro arcade shooter. I like that it includes both vertically scrolling bullet hell stages as well as the side-scrolling shmup levels, and $5.99 isn't too bad for a taste of both genres. And finally for the week is a mysterious game released by an undefined publisher. I'm not even kidding. They didn't list who made the game. Master Cube is pretty much Asteroids, but in color, and it's $5.49. And that's it for the neglected Nindies this week. None of these look too noteworthy, but I didn't think any of them looked like blatant cash grabs, so on behalf of the Nindie community, I'm proud of the publishers this week for not releasing any Nindie no-nos. I have, however, looked ahead to this week, and there are definitely a couple of titles here that we would throw into the no-no pile, but there's also a few here that I think you'll be excited about. So matching the same-sized smorgasbord of last week, let's check out the 19 new releases hitting the eShop from August 8th through the 14th. The single release starting off the week on August 10th is Ultimate Games' very own Twist and Bounce for $4.99. It's a game that I swear is some kind of real-life board game that I've seen kids play. You have a ball that starts on the top of a big tower, and then you rotate what is basically a big spiral staircase with various holes in it to get the ball to drop to the bottom without falling off. Does anyone know what that IRL game is I'm thinking of? Anyways, it looks like a decent pickup for maybe 99 cents, but I'm just not feeling it for anything more than that. And then the next day, on August 11th, there's another singular title releasing, and there's at least one part of the game that looks neat, but alas, this title by P-Cube and Mages, in all capital letters, is based on an anime, and I just, well, the game is called Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Familia Myth Infinite Combate. Yup. There's a fun dungeon crawling hack and slash part to this game, but then there's a bunch of romance dating events that are all based around an anime that is constantly referenced in the game description and trailers, but not by name. So I'm guessing it's maybe that Familia Myth mouthful thing. I'm gonna guess that a very few amount of gamers are gonna shell out $40 on this, and they're probably gonna love it. But the rest of us? Probably not. Things start picking up on August 12th, though, with 4 titles hitting the eShop, and I think there's an audience for each one of them. Banner of the Maid is a turn-based strategy RPG similar to Final Fantasy Tactics or the earlier Fire Emblem games, but it's based in the French Revolution in an anime format, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. I can't say that I know too much about the team at CE Asia, but there's a ton of content here, and the visuals invoke a strong sense of early PlayStation nostalgia. It's also only $14 if you catch it this week. I don't know, I might be checking this one out. The next title is going to be a huge hit for you if you're into 2 things: kaiju and other big-ass robot versus monster battles, and base building simulations, because Volta X combines both of these into a polished $20 experience from Gung Ho Interactive. Build your bases, customize your robots, and go kick some kaiju ass to save the world, or, whatever. Sometimes You is headed back to the retro 8-bit Metroidvania world this week with Escape from Tethys, which really looks like an old MS-DOS game. Maybe it is. Maybe it's like a remake. If you like traditional Metroid-style games, this one could be for you, and it's only $8, so that's not asking too much. I just haven't been able to try it for myself yet, and I'm usually skeptical of Sometimes You, so keep that in mind. Metamorphosis is a game that had me fighting with spell check for more than a couple of minutes, and is, by definition,
in an insect or amphibian, the process of transformation from an immature form to an adult form in 2 or more distinct stages.
This weird release by All In Games is a $25 romp through the first-person view of a person who has been transformed into a bug and must help his friend Joseph from being arrested. Didn't see that coming, did ya? You do a bunch of parkour, explore the world as a bug, you solve puzzles, so it's kind of a little bit of everything in an adventure game, but set in real time and in first person. I've gotta say, if nothing else, it's certainly unique and looks well developed. And now, friends, it's time for the big Thursday drop, and we've got some great titles on the docket this week, with 10 releases in all. So let's start things off with one that I think a lot of you are going to be into, and that is Faeria, the deck-building card-based battler by Versus Evil and Abraham Entertainment for $19.99. Faeria has been out on the PC for quite some time, 3 or 4 years now, and it's one of the better titles in this genre. What it does differently is how it lets you alter the battlefield by raising mountains, creating streams, and generally changing the world around your party or enemies. There's well over 100 hours of content in this game, and since its 2016 release on the PC, it's garnered an 81% on Metacritic. So, if you've slayed the Spire and you've quested through the Steam world, consider Faeria your next card-based endeavor. I hate to be this guy, but more than anything, you know what I think we have way too much of on the eShop? Multiplayer battle arena games. Any sort of, hey, here's a top-down multiplayer battle game. Look how crazy it is with this funny theme and craziness. Because there's just so many of these, and for whatever reason, they all think they're worth $15 or $20. Ugh. Boomerang Fu this week promises all of that stuff with a theme of, fruits, vegetables, and milk cartons that throw boomerangs? It's developed by Cranky Watermelon, and it releases for $15. These might be good releases, but it's just hard to recommend them when we've already got Towerfall, Nidhogg, Killer Queen Black, and Ultimate Chicken Horse, but hey, here's another one. But next up is one of those insane indie titles that I just love to talk about. Bite the Bullet is a whole mess of ridiculousness, and I can't wait to check it out for myself. Developed by Graffiti Games and Megacat Studios, who also released Coffee Crisis, this is a roguelike run-and-gun action RPG where you eat your enemies? That's right. Your character classes decide what kind of enemies you can eat, and that's how you build out your character throughout your runs. It's got skill trees, tons of levels, some truly disgusting looking pixel art characters, and it's by a team that I've seen do some really fun and unique things within a tried and true gameplay mechanic. So I'm all about Bite the Bullet, especially releasing this week for only $12. Darkestville Castle is a point-and-click adventure with a pretty fun premise of a bad guy who was banished from the town he was tormenting and is trying to get his bad guy groove back. The animation reminds me of an old Flash cartoon from the early aughts, which I consider a plus. Well, I guess it could be a plus. It's $15, and it's been a while since we've had a traditional point-and-click adventure without some kind of gimmick. So if that's your bag, and you're looking for something true to form, maybe give this newest release by the team at Epic Llama Games a shot. One of the first indie games on the Switch that really sank its hooks in me was Ratalaika's Devious Dungeon. I wasn't so hot on the sequel, but both games are side-scrolling action dungeon crawlers with procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements. And this week, they're both getting a bundle called, wait for it, the Devious Dungeon Collection. It's launching for $13, which is not a discount at all. But if you like simple, mindless hack-and-slash games, the perfect thing for watching stuff on Netflix, I'd say throw this collection on your wish list and wait until it's like $3 or $4. The title that I think will be this week's pick of the week is also one that comes with a couple of caveats, because you're gonna need to be both a fan of rhythm games and metal music. If you are, though, there's no doubt that Double-Kick Heroes by Plug-in Digital and Headbang Club
will melt your face.
This game is really cool. Basically, it plays like a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up, I guess. Your band of metalheads are hanging out in their car, being chased down a highway of doom by all kinds of hellspawn, and you have to hit buttons to prompts on a Guitar Hero-like track at the bottom of the screen, while occasionally maneuvering a cursor to aim various special attacks. There's also a Joy-Con mode that lets you rock out like you're playing fake drums. I just love these odes to metal because the whole theme is always so over the top and hilarious. Double-Kick Heroes launches for $21.99 and has been on my radar since it was first shown off at the last Indie World presentation. Again, if you like rhythm games and you like metal, you gotta check this one out. And here's another one I can get behind. The next title, released by the hilariously named the Quantum Astrophysicists Guild and Tiny Dino Games. It's like two ends of the evolution spectrum right there. Interesting. The Ambassador Fractured Timelines is a twin-stick shooter set in a fantasy world with graphics that are similar to games like Sparklight, Swords of Ditto, or Hyperlight Drifter, just not quite as cool looking. What is cool about the Ambassador is its time-stopping ability and a world that spans into two separate timelines, so you get to see a lot of the content from multiple perspectives, and I'm always a sucker for that stuff. I'm going to also assume that there's some humor in the game because it's littered throughout the game's description, including this line about the game's difficulty, which states the Ambassador includes, quote, multiple difficulty settings ranging from easy and accessible to head smashing into desk mode. The Ambassador Fractured Timelines launches for $14.99. And I just spilt water all over the front of my shirt because I'm an adult and I don't know how to drink, and now I will be soaked for the remainder of this recording. Big Dipper is a $5 visual romance novel about a guy and a girl stuck in a cabin in the snowy mountains over a New Year's break, and it just looks adorable and wholesome. Really. It's developed by Top Hat Studios and Team Zenmo, and of the 6 screenshots they provide, 3 of them are the exact same character portraits, but with different clothes and backgrounds. Here I was, ready to say that We Are Doomed is an interesting-looking twin-stick shooter with crazy psychedelic visuals, but that it looked so crazy it might be a bit of a brainwave overload. But then I looked up who developed it, and wouldn't you know it, this game is developed by Vertex Pop, who developed my favorite twin-stick shooter on the Switch, Graceful Explosion Machine, as well as one of my favorite Nindies of the year, Super Crush KO. It's $7.99, and I will absolutely be buying this game. I still remain skeptical that this visual style is able to be understood amidst all of the chaos, but it appears to be an older game from the team, and it's garnered quite a bit of praise, so I'm looking forward to checking it out on the Switch. I'll let you know how it is next week because I will always buy anything that the team at Vertex Pop makes. And the bow on this week's Big Thursday drop is one that we've all been waiting for. Brought to us by No Gravity Games, weighing in at 147 megabytes and $7.99 is Pool Pro Gold. It's pool, or billiards, and it does not look good. This next one, though, this one looks great. Starting off on August 14th, Lynn, Path of Orchards is a $5 puzzle platformer from Fanus Games and Carbon Fire Studio. The visuals will probably remind you of titles like Alto's Adventure with the bold yet muted colors and sharp geometry that you'll be manipulating to get your character to the goal in each of the 56 rotating levels. There's a ton of moody puzzle platformers out there on the Switch, but Lynn, Path of Orchards looks to have the whole package with an attractive presentation, unique gameplay hook, and dropping for only $5 makes it an easy recommendation this week. Shaolin vs. Wu-Tang is just begging me to make an awful joke, and I don't know, guys. I'm not sure if I'm going to take the bait. I did have to do a little bit of digging to see if Method Man is a playable character, but nope. This one's really confusing. So, it's a 2D fighting game that looks a lot like the Dead or Alive series, which that's cool, I guess. Those games were fun like a decade ago. It's filled with people who are homages to, I don't know, or maybe stereotypes of kung fu movie characters, and it's developed by Jay Lee and published by Godspeed Games, both of which I've never heard of. When that happens, I like to look up these companies and try to learn a little bit about them, and the website for Godspeed Games is so bizarre. It is the most sterile corporate template website I have ever seen. Like, is this company real, or is Shaolin vs. Wu-Tang just a piece in some international money laundering scheme that I just accidentally uncovered and will now probably lose my finger when I'm caught by a villain in a dark alley somewhere? Sorry. The game looks okay. Half of the screenshots aren't in English, which is pretty weird, and one of the characters is named USA Karate. I swear it looks like almost every image is in a different resolution or maybe just from a different platform entirely. I don't know, you guys. This game is $10 and I'm not entirely sure if it is in fact a real game. And last up this week is Ratalaika's release. It's developed by Light Up and is a completely harmless side-scrolling platformer called Prehistoric Dude. With an 8-bit caveman motif and a very light Metroidvania slant, I might check this one out for myself. Ratalaika is usually pretty good for a quick fix game that will last you a couple of days and leave you satisfied. As with most of their releases, it clocks in at $4.99, and the little smirk on this caveman is almost selling me on the game all by itself. We've just got another one of those weeks with a bunch of different titles, so it's really hard to pick one that stands out for the pick of the week. If you're into card battlers, Faeria is definitely your pick of the week. If you like metal and rhythm games, you'll love Double-Kick Heroes. And if roguelikes are your thing, you've got something top-down with The Ambassador or side-scrolling with Bite the Bullet. Personally, I'm really looking forward to We Are Doomed, but what do you think? Let me know what's jumping out at you in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at Nindie Nation. If you don't fall into one of those admittedly niche demographics, maybe you'll fancy a Nindie on the cheap. I think this week's Nindie Lords are smiling down on us citizens because with 644 games currently on sale, there are some truly wonderful games ripe for the picking. Here are our picks for the best Nindie deals through at least August 14th. We kick off this week's deals, citizens, with a title we haven't talked about much recently, so there's a handful of you who may not know of my undying love for Cat Quest. Cat Quest is an absolutely adorable action RPG with mostly mindless gameplay full of hacking, slashing, and dodging while completing an endless stream of simple side quests where the entire game is filled with an abundance of glorious cat puns. They're just the best, y'all. Anyways, Cat Quest is 80% off for only $2.59. Friends, this is your required purchase for this week. Unless you despise things that are cute, lighthearted, and fun, or you just hate cats, I suppose, I implore all citizens of Nindie Nation to go check out Cat Quest. If you've played it, or you like what you hear but you wish it had co-op and or some deeper combat mechanics, well, you're in luck because the fairly recent sequel, Cat Quest 2, is also on sale for $10.49, which is 30% off and the lowest it's been yet. Both of these games are wonderful, and this is a great price for either. I love Cat Quest, and I've talked to the two-person team at Gentle Bros who developed the game a couple of times already, and they are super cool, very nice people. So all the more reason for you to go check out Cat Quest. Woo! Really flew off the handle there. Sorry about that, citizens. I just really like those cat games. Anyways, another great bang for your buck purchase this week. If you love vertical shoot-em-ups, the Vasara collection includes 2 classic 90s shmups and is a great value, especially when it's 90% off for only 99 cents. The next deal is definitely a must-play, and it ends on the 13th, so don't sleep on Axiom Verge, one of the top 3 Metroidvania games available for the Switch. It's 40% off for $11.99, and I've only ever seen it dip a bit lower to half off, so hold off until Black Friday if you must, but I say pick it up if you haven't yet. Axiom Verge is a nearly flawless 8-bit sci-fi action game with an open-ended world, and it's getting a sequel, hopefully, later this year. As a quick aside, Walmart is apparently clearancing out a bunch of their physical Nindies, and I'm not telling you to rush out and grab them because, there's a good chance that they're all gone, but most of the following titles have been marked down to $10 to $12 each, which is as much as 70% off their usual price. Just remember to expect slim pickings because your mileage may vary and the remaining titles are almost definitely not getting restocked. Shovel Knight, Killer Queen Black, Owlboy, Dead Cells, Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, and My Friend Pedro. Wow, talk about some great games. All of those, $10 to $12 a piece, physical. Go check them out if you're in the area, you're near a Walmart, whatever, but, don't go crazy hunting for them. Another wonderful game that's at its lowest price ever. Man, we've got a great week of deals. Iconoclasts is only $10, which is half off, and that game has awesome music, which I might decide to use for this week's intro or outro. Iconoclasts is a beautiful and vibrant action-adventure that's a little Metroidvania-y, but is mostly a narrative-driven action game with some awesome mechanics and puzzles, kind of like Owlboy in its approach. Check out Iconoclasts because it is fantastic. Speaking of our friends over at Forever Entertainment, it's worth noting that their recent big-budget remake of Panzer Dragoon is now 40% off for $16.74, and you can get a bit more off if you own any other Forever Entertainment titles, which makes it get closer to $12. This is an excellent title for any fan of the original. Otherwise, it's about an hour-long on-rails shooter, so I'd say if you like Star Fox or even games like Rez or the Gummy Ship missions in Kingdom Hearts, that's pretty much what this is, and it's great for what it is. It's just meant for a specific person, of which I happen to be one of, and I really like what they did with this remake and how much they've supported it after launch. Daggerhood is one of my favorite titles by Ratalaika. It's a super hard puzzle platformer where you try to make it across a trap-filled room one screen at a time as quickly as possible, and there's a lot of similarities in that gameplay approach to Celeste. It doesn't have the music, story, etc. of Celeste, but the gameplay is a blast with a generous difficulty curve and unlimited instant retries, so it's a very rewarding challenge as well. Daggerhood is 40% off and is only $2.99, which I think is a great price for a great game. And if all of that wasn't enough, one of my favorite games for the Switch and my favorite JRPG of the last decade, Cosmic Star Heroine, is back on sale 87% off for $1.99. You know I love this game. One of the best JRPGs ever, an awesome sci-fi story, killer soundtrack, and an entire AAA JRPG experience in just about 20 hours. Go get this game. What are you even doing? Go! And for something completely different, Rogue Singularity is a game that really kinda stands in its own genre. It looks and plays like a 3D platformer, a lot like a Ratchet and Clank or Jak and Daxter, but it's only the platforming part. It's a roguelike with procedurally generated levels, but sorry, no RPG elements, where you just run through a 3D platforming infinite obstacle course, basically. It's really fun, well-polished, and a great time killer while it's 90% off for only $1.49. And finally, wrapping up one of the best weeks for deals we've had in a long time. Another one that you should jump on fast because it expires on the 13th is Battle Princess Madeline Royal Edition. Now, there are two versions of this game, and it's a deep hole to fall down trying to explain the difference between the two, but I'll say if you decide to buy Battle Princess Madeline, get the Royal Edition because it's not only completely upgraded as if it were almost on a new platform, but the structure of the game itself is also very different, and I think in a good way. The game plays just like Ghosts and Goblins, but it's a little bit more forgiving. It's hard, but really fun. Lots of upgrades and secrets to find, and an honest-to-God heartwarming story. My daughter and I have been playing through it a bit recently, and she doesn't really care to watch the gameplay, but she does love the characters and the story elements and all the stuff surrounding the character of Madeline. Battle Princess Madeline Royal Edition carries my highest recommendation if you want a challenging 16-bit throwback while it's half off for $7.49. Wowzers! Outside of the physical games, you could get every title I just mentioned for less than the price of one brand new AAA game. That is just another reason why indie games are the best. There's a lot more on sale too, and most of the games in last week's list are still live. So if you're like many gamers and you're stressing out about Nintendo's uncertain 2020 and the unknown surrounding the PS5 and Xbox Series X, go load up on some indie games now while they're super cheap. These games are probably the lowest they'll be until Black Friday, so while you can, go get you some. Now, before we go, we've mentioned Forever Entertainment a couple of times today, and as part of our new series of rotating segments, we're having our first Nindie Publisher Spotlight kick off this week, focused on Forever Entertainment. Forever Entertainment is a publisher based in Poland, and they've been in business since 2010. A primary reason for them to be the first publisher featured is because if we had a Nindie's No-No section during the early days of Nindie Nation, this publisher would probably have popped up in it from time to time. But over the last year in particular, their quality of output has increased dramatically. From the overall quality of their titles being better, they've also started dipping their toes into some higher tier games. Whatever that means, you know what I mean. With games like Towaga and the Panzer Dragoon remake, the former being an otherwise Apple Arcade exclusive, and the latter being a AAA level remake of a classic console exclusive. Some of my personal favorite Forever Entertainment titles include Biolab Wars, a 45-minute long run-and-gun game that is exactly like Contra and a total blast. You've also got Panzer Dragoon, which we've discussed today already, and Towaga Among Shadows, which is a really fun, different take on the twin-stick shooter with more of an arcade focus and mostly stationary positioning. Towaga is beautiful to look at, too. However, Forever Entertainment has published a whopping 77 titles on the Switch, so there's a lot out there that isn't quite the best, including No Thing, the Bad Dream series, and Ultimate Ski Jumping. But it just so happens that most of their games are currently half off or more. I swear I had no idea that would happen. I was just looking up the company's titles, and sure enough, they're all on sale, so good timing. So with that, here are some of the Forever Entertainment titles I recommend. The Sparkle series are simple little titles where you control an organism who swims around, eats things, gets bigger so that you can eat bigger things, and avoid getting eaten by things bigger than you. It's simple, it's fun. I suggest Sparkle Evo 3 or Sparkle 0, but the entire series, most of the titles are less than $2 each right now. Startide is a janky but fun twin-stick shooter that was featured in a past Nindies We Love video. Frontline Z we talked about last week is their new pseudo-tower defense zombie game where you play as one of the characters behind a barrier, mowing down zombies at night, and then you spend the days rebuilding and strengthening your barricade. And of course, all of the other games mentioned earlier are almost all on sale. One last note on Forever Entertainment. If you own any of their games, when purchasing another one of their titles, you'll receive an additional 30% off. This isn't reflected until you actually go to checkout in the eShop. It's a terrible approach that Nintendo never advertises, but it's there and it applies to any Forever Entertainment title, which means you can go buy BioLab Wars, which is $2 at full price, and then you get 30% off, which could translate into $5 or more on games like Towaga or Panzer Dragoon. Forever Entertainment has become one of the largest publishers on the Switch, and while there was a time where that wasn't the best thing, they're certainly an eShop mainstay now and have brought many quality titles to the Switch. Go check out their games on the eShop by just clicking on their name in one of their games details page, and go browse their catalog for yourself. How we feeling about these rotating segments? Definitely adding a few minutes into the overall runtime, but I'm not seeing a drop in the watch time, so hopefully you're liking what you see. As always, leave me your feedback in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at Nindie Nation. Now that we've done the week-spanning Nindie World Tour, it's time to bring this bad boy home to rest up for next week. Nindie Nation posts to podcast feeds on Mondays and also on the Nindie Nation YouTube channel, alongside Let's Plays and my favorite content to make, the Nindies We Love series. If you're all full from Nindie goodness, but you still want more gaming content, do not fret, citizens, because the fine folks at Nintendo Village are delivering daily content covering everything else Nintendo related. Whether you're looking for articles, podcasts, reviews, or anything else under the house that Mario built, you can find it all in one place at thenintendovillage.com, and we thank them for their support. Looking ahead to next week, I'm really hoping we get some more Nindie trifectas, and as much as I hate them, I could really use a pervy anime romance game to make fun of. But don't fret, because I do see the week kicking off with a game called My Universe, My Baby. And I'm sure that'll be quite the treat. There's also a bunch of games still listed with a pending summer 2020 release date, so who knows? Maybe we're in for another Indie World presentation soon. But all of that is for another day, and for right now, we're all wrapped up for the week, and we'll catch you right back here next week. Until then, I'm Jeff, this has been Nindie Nation episode 77, and no matter what type of game you're into, especially if it's full of cat puns, know that Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.